the next one on the list is also the RFK.
The RFK vaccine.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so I played a couple of highlights. You heard RFK talk, like even on the things where he knows, he believes in the environmental stuff because experts. Although, as he explained, look, he's relying on Exxon and oil company experts from the 70s saying we are going to pollute the Earth, we're going to cause global warming, but it'll be good for us, bad for the environment because it'll melt the ice caps in the Arctic, and we'll get to dig it for more oil, yada yada. Except it hasn't really happened even by the 70s scientists who, simultaneously were talking about global cooling. The debate was good. He says, look, I believe the environmental issue is an existential crisis, but I don't expect everyone to agree with me, nor is my policy going to be based on that panic. What else? The experts have lied to us about vaccines. Krystal Ball was trying to push him or pressure him on, people believe in vaccines. Okay, good for them. What's your takeaway? I mean, do you like what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has to say policy-wise?
I thought he defended himself well. I thought he acquitted himself well. I thought that it was a little bit of a setup, what Krystal Ball was doing. I've never been a big fan of breaking points. They portray themselves as anti-establishment, anti-corporate media populist. But on critical issues at critical times, they're always on the establishment side. So they were on the establishment side on COVID, lockdowns, vaccines, masks, you name it.
And still
on
are.
that side still are on that side on mandates. Generally took the side of the pro-Ukraine war initially. Took the side of that the election 2020 was a bastion of integrity and honesty. So when the rubber hits the road, they're almost always invariably on the wrong side. And so my view is this: if you're anti-establishment, you don't get written up in Wikipedia as being anti-establishment. Instead, you get written up as far right. Right? If you're actually anti-establishment, they smear you. They don't promote you. Breaking Points and Sagar and Krystal Ball have had big fancy write-ups in publications like the New Yorker and the Atlantic. It's like, sorry, these people are not populist. They're not anti-establishment. They're not anti-corporate media. They are the corporate media. They're just the younger lefty dissenter sons and daughters of the aristocratic liberal gentry, in the case of Krystal Ball. But when the rubber hits the road, they're almost always on the wrong side. So I took it as Ball was really trying to set up. She knew her audience would be a natural Robert Kennedy audience. So I thought it was a setup to try to smear him as, hey, audience, you can't back him because of his vaccine positions. And all she's ever done is read the news, the big pharma news release on vaccines, because she had Bill Gates's view. I mean, she was sitting there saying, well, on autism, there's only ever been one study, and that one study was revoked. And it's like, okay, no, that's completely false. You don't know what's been studied. You don't know what's happened. You don't even know what happened with that study. You don't know what that study was and wasn't about. You don't know what happened with Wakefield. You don't know what happened with Wakefield's people getting reinstated down the road by when they sued the British government officials. She has no knowledge of any of it, least of all about COVID vaccines, where she was still pretending they're safe. So she redefined the word effective. She said, they're effective. Well, okay, they didn't actually...
Yes, preventing serious hospitalization, which is also not even true anymore. But
that's known as a therapeutic, by the way. That's not known as a vaccine. That a therapeutic minimizes the consequences of disease. A vaccine prevents you from getting it and transmitting it to others. That's what a vaccine is. But the giveaway with her was, you could see how Robert Kennedy engages. Like, he's very curious what her opinion is and what the basis of her opinion is. She doesn't have one. Right, her opinion is based on talking points from MSNBC. She has never done a deep dive into the topic, doesn't have any meaningful understanding of the topic, clearly hasn't read any of his books on the topic, doesn't know that Robert Kennedy doesn't say anything that hasn't been vetted by all kinds of scientific individuals. I mean, in fact, this is one area where we disagree. I don't like scientists to gatekeep my opinions. I think any ordinary American can have those opinions. He prefers not to go that route. Before he says a word. The reason why real Anthony Fauci took a year to publish, and he took almost the whole year to do it, he wanted it vetted by hundreds of experts in the field. So that's where she was completely clueless. She didn't understand this is not a place you should even try to debate Robert Kennedy. If you're going to smear Robert Kennedy, you better get in and get out fast, because this is why ABC just edited out his section on it, because they didn't have a rebuttal on it. None of them do. This is why they won't debate it. This is why Bobby Kennedy's been saying for decade plus, saying, look, if you think that the vaccines don't have any problem, the big expansion of the kids' vaccine list, and that's his main issue, is the dramatic expansion of the list, not just any vaccine, not every vaccine. It's that we in the mid-1980s did two things. We granted first complete immunity to any vaccine maker that was on the kids list for any harm their drug could cause. And then second, what happened soon thereafter? Well, a bunch of drug companies are like, put this one on the list, put this one on the list, put this one on the list, put this one on the list. And we went from, like, when I was a kid, we had 3 vaccine shots. Now your kids are going to get like 68, 70, 75, 80. It's absurd. And all Bobby Kennedy's pointed out is, as that list has grown, so has a whole bunch of illnesses and injuries grown. And that maybe we should investigate the two, and that there are hundreds of studies out there, not a few, hundreds, that have pointed out correlations between a wide range of diseases and things that are in these vaccines, and the timing and the increased use of these vaccines. So that's his main point. And she doesn't have an answer because she's never read any of the material. She's just done it. She just assumes, well, this high-ranking expert at New York Times says this, so that must be the case. When I've discussed things with vaccine people, it is shocking how ill-informed they are. It's like, you can have a different opinion on a vaccine, have at it, but almost none of them have an informed opinion. The same is truly true for the COVID vaccine. And this what my retort for anybody out there, to everybody on the kids vaccine, the COVID vaccine, is real simple. If this vaccine is if I had been debating Krystal Ball, said, if this vaccine is so safe, so effective, if the scientific evidence is so overwhelmingly in your favor, like you say it is, you say it's unanimously in your favor, then why are they so scared of court? Why are they so scared of a trial by jury? Why are they so scared of a public trial? Why are they so scared of simple discovery? If they're right, they should welcome those challenges. The fact that these people have to have immunity for their lies convinces me that they are lying to you about safety and efficacy as the kids' vaccines and COVID vaccines.
Yeah, and why not forget discovery and lawsuits? Forget the immunity. How about just disclosure? Why wait 75 years? Robert, it's a good segue, actually. I just want to let me ask you if you are familiar with the issue of or what they call hot batches. Now, so there's a website called badbatch.com.
There's a small number of batches that appear to be disproportionately responsible for the number of injuries suffered reported to date.
So the question I had is this, because
this is what happens, by the way, when you allow vaccines to be done without good manufacturing standards, which is what they did.
And now the question I had is, these numbers are shocking. Lethality, they put 6%, which some people are saying, okay, well, then the batch had a few thousand if it led to 6% lethality. But then some articles are saying that the batches were like 1 to 3 million, as much as 3.6 million. Others were saying, they're 100,000 to 150 per batch. The question is this: do you know how many doses come per batch? And were these, for those who are going to say, well, these were administered in areas where people were prone to make VAERS claims, and so that explains why some batches, if they're like in, I don't know, pick a state or whatever that's prone to making VAERS claims, that's why that's the case. My understanding is that the batches were distributed so that this type of anomaly cannot be explained from geographic propensity for filing VAERS.
That's what was supposed to happen. I know that. So it didn't. There was clearly something went wrong in these batches, either in what was in the batches or in how they were distributed, or both. Okay. So something's clearly AWOL.
And also, just before I forget, that's another segue. I had on Trista Martin's parents yesterday. I'm just going to share the GoFundMe, people. The Give Send Go, my goodness, slap my face for even saying that. The Give Send Go was at $5,000 yesterday. They're trying to get to $20,000 for the headstone memorial stuff. If anybody doesn't know the story, because I wasn't aware of the story until late last week, go check out the interview yesterday. It was on Rumble, it's on YouTube, and I'll just link the Give Send Go if anybody can and cares to spare. The hot batches, I had heard about it briefly, but you go to this website and you can put in batch numbers, and you could see 250 deaths, 212 deaths for a batch, and then they know this. And somehow it's not like front page news that there are some batches, whether or not it's something to do with the manufacturer. Now that you go back and you see when Johnson & Johnson had to recall, I don't know, however many hundreds of thousands of doses, AstraZeneca had to recall doses. And now you say, well, so those are the ones that they got back, and the ones that they didn't recall because of manufacturing problems, well, maybe they result in batches that have shocking. Okay, now, but so do you think Krystal Ball are they trying to get a soundbite to use against RFK? Are they trying to make him,
I mean, the goal is simple. I mean, it's why she backs someone like Marianne Williamson, right? Marianne Williamson makes her look like she's anti-establishment, but the establishment could care less about Marianne Williamson. They know she's going absolutely nowhere. She's a nuisance candidate, not a serious candidate. So it's not a coincidence that she backs Marianne Williamson and attacks Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy is a real threat to the establishment. And so it's who Breaking Point is. I've been trying to tell people that for a while. Like, I ignore them. I mostly never listen to them. I don't pay much attention to them. Their perspective is useless. That they're controlled opposition if there ever was. I think Sagar is well-meaning, but I think he's going to take the check. I think Krystal Ball's never been well-meaning. I mean, she's now married to Kyle Kulinski. She's not. I think Jimmy Dore's take apart of what she did here was a good one. Glenn Greenwald was much more generous in his takedown than Jimmy Dore was to them. I've never been generous to them because people told me to follow him as left populist in Krystal Ball. And I was like, nothing about her is left populist. I was like, that this is a crock. She doesn't even know what populism is. Keeps describing herself as populist. Like, she has no idea. These are upscale, progressive lefties that, are, sometimes disagree with mommy and daddy. That's who they are. That they're not people to take serious as anti-establishment. They're not people to waste your money on supporting. Robert Kennedy was very generous in his description of him, but that's who he is, and that's more credit to him. The National Review had a fun piece about Robert Kennedy. It's like his greatest, I think it was National Review, his greatest defect is his tendency to give credence to people whose opinions don't necessarily warrant it. That he'll listen to anybody, and then that's the nature of it. So so credit to him. He's talking to everybody. Talked to Dave Smith. He continues to make the rounds. He's going to be on with Glenn Greenwald, introducing ideas and injecting thoughts into the public consciousness that I think are great. I think it'd be great to see a debate between him and Biden, a debate between him and Trump, a debate between him and anybody, because he's very good, very sharp, but very pretty fair. I haven't seen him use any unfair tactics or techniques in any debate. But I thought the big thing with the vaccine debate, I have not heard the vaccine supporters defend the legal immunity. Well, if you guys are so right that these are so great, why are you so scared of court? Why are you so scared of transparency? Why are you so scared of the public? Why are you so scared of a jury?
They
Something's
know,
wrong.
Anthony Housefather.
Innocent people don't need that level of immunity, folks.
Well, no, but our politician in Canada, Anthony Housefather, said the quiet part out loud. They were asked to do research and bypass the standard protocol, bypass standard protocol for manufacturing, and they weren't going to do it without immunity. Why? Yep. For obvious reasons. I didn't like her. I didn't like her demeanor. Where the demeanor is in the dishonest argument, which you're wrong. You won't admit it. I don't want to get into
a lot of confession through projection. That was. She said, "Oh, you're just so stubborn and won't listen to critics." And I was like, "You're not describing Bobby Kennedy. You're describing yourself."
I've listened to all your stuff, Robert, and I'm just not convinced. I don't want to get into it now. Let's move on.